Part 108. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1072. Old ruins, modeled old traces. The bonfires of the past have been extinguished, and the tribes of the past have disappeared. Only the ruins of the walls and the desolation of the land are left, burying the first fire of life. The records are true. This should be the legendary place where the ancestors created the world. It is said that the forbidden world itself is nothingness. The ancestors took the soil of the 9 heavens and created the earth where all things grow. This is the place where they once stood. The place of origin, that light must be here. Everyone spoke one after another, all extremely happy. All this shows that they are close to the real opportunity. The true form of the sword on these stone carvings is the source of the sword formation just now. Xuanhuan looked at the stone pillars around him with an extremely eager expression. He is a master of swordsmanship, so he can naturally feel how precious these true forms of swordsmanship are. Even one picture can be studied for thousands of years, and the gains will be extremely huge. However, he tried hard to remember it, but failed. The true meaning contained in the true shape diagram is too strong, and unless you can understand it thoroughly, you cannot write it down. For our heavenly sword sect, these swordsmanship true diagrams are a great opportunity. Xuanhuan's face was filled with blazing color. Even he is not sure what level these swordsmanship true diagrams have reached. Absolutely extraordinary. When this happens, these true figures will have to be brought back to the sect together. Sword Immortal, can you understand these diagrams of the true form of swordsmanship? Lin Yuhao also asked eagerly. In his Taoist scene, the rotten swordsman who was in shock for a long time and finally forgot his memory again, keeping his name, was meditating at the moment. A large part of the shroud on her body was directly scorched and could no longer sustain her life. After knowing things she shouldn't know several times, she felt that she had reached the point of complete death. At this moment, when she heard Lin Yuhao speak, she looked through Lin Yuhao's eyes and saw the outside world. These true shape diagrams are actually still there. The rotten sword immortal was very surprised and subconsciously spoke. The dust returns. Lin Yuhao said unexpectedly. Sword immortal, do you know these true figures? When the rotten sword immortal was asked, he was suddenly startled, and his whole body started to tremble slightly. No. How do I know this? Why do I think of the past? At this moment, there was a hint of shock in the corrupted eyes of the rotten sword immortal. She looked down at her shroud. I am already a rot slave, I have long lost all my past, only the dark present. Haven't those memories been completely erased? She held her head with both hands. At this moment, the sea of consciousness seemed to explode. What power allowed me to break the seal of the shroud and actually recall the past? I remembered it all. She murmured and said. I was once a subordinate of Emperor Xuantian, and I was the most outstanding swordsman genius in Emperor Xuantian's court. I once followed him to the source of darkness, I saw him buried in the darkness. Suddenly, pus-like tears fell from her rotting eyes. At this moment, the rotten sword immortal looked around hesitantly, as if waking up from a big dream. After my death, I was turned into a rot slave. She whispered and smiled miserably. I once fought passionately against the source, but after my death I became a slave to darkness. Since you are a slave, why did you let me wake up again? Why, the Emperor of Heaven is dead, the imperial court has collapsed, and the world has long been in despair. What's the use of waking up? Her body was shaking with despair. Woke up from the nightmare, only to find that reality is the real nightmare. Rather than being sober, wouldn't it be better to remain ignorant? I must have touched some unimaginable cause and effect, so I broke through the suppression of the shroud. She murmured, suddenly smiled miserably, and said. The only one who can have this kind of power of cause and effect is The cause and effect that has been submerged in darkness and remains in this world can still suppress the erosion of darkness. No wonder we mistakenly thought that he was hope, and light. She whispered. The rotting corpse began to flow, the rotten flesh gradually dried up, and the power of the shroud could not sustain her already dead life. But this time, she did not erase the thoughts in her consciousness. To live ignorantly like a slave, and to die again soberly. It seems that the latter is more worthy of choice. Moreover, if you die this time, you will no longer be able to be refined into a rot slave, cleanly. She suddenly smiled. Lin Yuhao, seeing that there was no sound in the Dao scenery for a long time, couldn't help but ask again, saying, 13 Sword Immortals, do you know these true forms of swordsmanship? In the Taoist landscape, the voice of the rotten sword immortal came out. It changed from the usual dullness and indifference, but instead had a sense of desolation and clearness, saying, more than just knowing. In the past, when the Emperor of Heaven entered the Hank Mountains, he brought out several true shape diagrams for the members of the Emperor's court to practice. I am the most outstanding swordsman in the Zhantian Emperor's court, haha, I once understood the essence of half of the true shape diagram and achieved the fruit of swordsmanship. She murmured and said. Hearing this, Lin Yuhao was immediately shocked. He had always known that the sword immortal in his mind had a mysterious origin and was extremely powerful. But now I know that, the sword immortal is actually related to the former Zhantian Emperor court. He is still the most talented swordsman in the Zhantian Emperor court. Zhantian Emperor court, who in the world doesn't know? It was once extremely glorious and dared to declare war on the source. Immediately afterwards, he felt more and more how valuable these true forms of swordsmanship were. Even Emperor Zhantian came here, and he was as terrifying as the 13 sword immortals, but he only understood half of it. At this moment, his eyes suddenly became hot. These things can be called supreme treasures. This, I'm afraid, is the real imperial machine? I want to take these things back. He murmured. However, in the Taoist landscape, the rotten sword immortal said calmly. Don't think about it. With your swordsmanship talent, you will never be able to understand the true meaning of these stone carvings in this life. The words are simple and direct. Lin Yuhao's face turned ugly and he said unwillingly. Sword immortal, you look down on me. The rotten sword immortal said casually. Lin Yuhao. Jian Xian's concise hum made him not know what to say. The rotten sword immortal paused and then said. It's not aimed at you, I just want to say that in the entire forbidden world, anyone who can understand half of the true form, no more than 5 fingers, can be called a swordsman wizard, and can understand more than one. Throughout the ages, perhaps only the Emperor of Heaven has been fighting, but even the Emperor of Heaven only brought out a few pictures back then. Lin Yuhao was speechless and said. So, no one in this world can understand everything. The rotten sword immortal said. Of course there is, you have seen that person. Lin Yuhao. Have you ever seen this kind of horror? In his scenic spot, the rotten sword immortal murmured to himself. Emperor Zhantian once said, the stone carvings here were left by the ancestor of the ancestors who mastered the origin of swordsmanship, and the swordsmanship of the ancestors, seems to be inseparable from that person, and may even be the origin. Since that, in her eyes, there was a deep admiration and an infinite sadness. The one whom even Zhantian Emperor regarded as hope, at the end of all roads, is still buried in the darkness. There's someone in front of you. At this time, someone suddenly exclaimed. Xuanhuan and others all stepped forward and looked forward. I saw an ancient black altar in the center of the valley. The altar seemed to be made of black soil. It had been eroded over time and looked gray. However, when everyone's spiritual thoughts touched it, they found that the black altar was like the darkest black hole, which directly caused the spiritual thoughts to disappear without a trace. On top of the altar, A young man was sitting in meditation with his eyes closed, as if he had been waiting for a long, long time. Beside the young man, there was an ancient mottled bronze lamp. The bronze lamp was no more than the height of a hand, covered in patina, and the wick was burnt. Who is he? Why is he here? The Hankei mountain range is a forbidden area, and this valley is a forbidden area among forbidden areas. How could anyone else come? Could it be that he is also of the blood of the ancestors? That lamp, is it the legendary one that once illuminated the darkness? For a moment, everyone at the scene was shocked. How could there be anyone else here? But when they saw the light, everyone was excited again. That lamp should be the legendary one. No matter who you are, hand over the ancient bronze lamp, and get out. Xuanhuan shouted coldly. That ancient bronze lamp has a great origin and is related to fire. It may be an opportunity for the Emperor's star. They are determined to win it. At this moment, on the black altar, the man finally slowly opened his eyes. He glanced at everyone in the field and whispered. After waiting for so long, it's finally here. Fortunately, the bloodline of our ancestors has not been cut off. Immediately, his eyes fell on Fan Yaoyao and Fan Peipei, and said, "Come here." Fan Peipei and Fan Yaoyao were both a little confused at the moment, but they felt, the man on the altar gave them a sense of familiarity inexplicably. "Walk over." Fan Yaoyao mustered up her courage and walked towards Tuguyuking. Fan Peiming also followed. "Stop, don't move." However, Xuanhuan and others immediately scolded him and said, "Whoever dares to act without our permission will die." As he spoke, Xuanhuan suddenly grabbed Fan Yaoyao and Fan Peiming with his big hand. On the altar, the man waved his hand calmly. In an instant, an unparalleled sword intent arrived and directly shattered Xuanhuan's phantom hand. So strong. This person's strength has not yet reached the Xiang realm, but can he compete with the Holy Lord? He should just be riding the wind. Everyone was a little surprised. However, Xuanhuan's face darkened, he sneered, and said, "Haha, I thought you were some kind of expert, but it turns out that you are just a wind cultivator. Since you are so weak, then you can die." If the man didn't reveal his strength, they wouldn't dare to act rashly without knowing its depth. After the words fell, Xuanhuan took a step forward. Behind him, a terrifying Taoist landscape appeared. The dense power of rule seeped into reality from the Taoist landscape. Xuanhuan struck out with a palm. This power turned into a big wave and swept towards altar. This is a strike from the hero, and the strength of 11 soil realm is fully revealed. After setting out on the road, touching the forbidden path, every realm, even every small step, is a natural chasm. The 11 soil, which is above the 9 heavens, has been found in the void land of Dao Jingdi, and has been cast into a cone of soil. And the realm of riding the wind, is like a rootless tree, which can only maintain itself from falling into nothingness. Although this terrifying blow failed to distort the rules of reality, it sent sand and rocks flying like a storm. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1073. Xuanhuan took action, and suddenly sand and rocks flew in the valley, which was extremely powerful. This is a blow from a strong person in the 11 soil realm, which is enough to kill any strong person at the Changfeng level. Careful. Fan Yaoyao couldn't help but speak to the man on the altar. Although she didn't know who the man was, she subconsciously felt that she didn't want him to get hurt. The young man on the altar was indifferent at the moment. Facing Xuanhuan's terrifying palm, he put his fingers together and stroked forward in the air, as if riding in the air. Boom! However, his lofty stroke instantly caused a huge ripple in the space. Wang Yang's sword energy seemed to be raging out of the air, and it actually completely eliminated the opponent's palm. What kind of sword is this? How could it be so strong? Everyone was shocked. The fact that this young man was able to block a hero-level blow just now can also be explained by the fact that the three heroes were afraid and did not try their best. But now Xuanhuan has definitely used his true strength. However, it was still blocked. Moreover, the other party was sitting on the altar, not moving at all. Did he practice the sword skills on those stone carvings? How is this possible? Xuanhuan spoke in shock. He is a strong swordsman, and he is keenly aware that this young man's swordsmanship is very similar to the previous sword formation and the true shape of the sword on the stone carvings. Hearing this, others were also surprised. The true form of swordsmanship is so powerful. Can you rely on the realm of riding the wind to rival Zirang? Those swordsmanship true diagrams must be obtained and taken away. A sect can definitely flourish. For a moment, everyone's eyes were burning. Sword Immortal, didn't you say that the number of people in this world who can understand half of the true form is no more than 5 fingers? And Lin Yuhao couldn't help but speak, saying, Is he the swordsman wizard you call him? At this moment, in his Taoist scenery, the rotten sword fairy had stood up straight. She was staring outside through Lin Yuhao's eyes, and her eyeballs almost fell off. Her body was actually trembling slightly. No. He is not a swordsman wizard. Lin Yuhao was confused. No. Rotten sword fairy. He is the source of kendo, the ultimate in kendo. Her words were almost as if she were talking in her sleep. Lin Yuhao was shocked. The source of swordsmanship? What kind of evaluation is this? The rotten sword immortal muttered to himself. The true shape of swordsmanship is indeed profound, but the kendo he uses to control this true shape of swordsmanship. That is the source of swordsmanship. It can't be wrong, it can't be wrong. Could it be that, he is the last incarnation of those people? At this moment, the rotten sword immortal thought of a possibility. She once followed Emperor Xuanhuan and was an outstanding swordsman among the people in Emperor Xuanhuan's court. She knew too many ancient secrets and legends. The ancestors of the 12 ancestors are the founders of the 12 oldest roads in the world. Kendo is one of them. The Kendo stone carvings in the Origin Valley were left by one of the 12 ancestors who mastered the Kendo in the past. Now the sword is back again. She instantly confirmed Duguyuking's identity. The ancestors of the 12 ancestors once fell in the darkness, and the fire illuminated their corpses, allowing them to reincarnate in the years, like scattered sparks. In the long years, the sparks continued to extinguish. In this life, there is only the last one left. He is the spark that fell that day, the last incarnation of those people. At this moment, the rotten sword fairy's pale eyes were clearly filled with excitement. The light of fire reappeared, and one of the ancestors who once passed down the swordsmanship appeared. Did the other sparks, the 11 ancestors, also appear? If they can all reappear and grow to their former heights, there may really be hope in this life. She whispered, but then she said tremblingly, No. He has no chance. Darkness has arrived. In the valley. On the altar, the young man on the altar remained motionless and remained calm. No one can compete with me today. Happiness comes suddenly. Duguyuking smiled slightly, glanced at the many masters in the field, and said, You guys come together. Go together. After hearing this, everyone was instantly angry. Shuzi, how dare you look down on us like this? Looking for death, kill him. Don't worry about anything. Let's go together and kill him so that we can seize the ancient bronze lamp. For a moment, all the masters in the field moved. In the face of such interests, no one cares about the demeanor of a master. The most important thing is to bully the many and kill Duguyuking as quickly as possible. For a time, in this valley, the phantoms of the Dao scenery continued to emerge. From everyone's Dao scenery, terrifying power radiated out and gathered into a vast ocean. Heavenly sword invincible, die. Xuanhuan shouted loudly. He seemed to be standing in a place of nothingness, with an inch of earth supporting his feet. That was the place where he stood. Terrifying power erupted, turning into an invisible divine sword and slashing down. Ge Renxiang's power turned into a heavenly sword, almost cutting through space. With a gloomy face, he attacked directly from the side. Yuanwuji's Taoist scenery appeared under his feet. He seemed to have turned into a mountain. The ground cracked under his feet, and the cracks spread directly towards the black altar. In addition to the three heroes, other masters are also taking crazy shots at this moment. When Duguyuking saw this, he smiled lightly, stood up, and said, "Very good, I like it. Please remember, this sword is called the first sword of Dugu Tajin." Then, he held an ancient bronze lamp in one hand and the fingers of the other hand together to form a sword. Behind him, a Taoist landscape appeared. His Taoist scenery is clearly the endless sword domain, a regular road that leads directly to the land of nothingness. In the dark land of nothingness, there are actually 5 terrifying and gorgeous rivers of energy, hanging upside down like a waterfall. What is that? Is it the 5 Qi? How is it possible, to absorb the forbidden realm, just to absorb the forbidden energy? Is this a river of forbidden energy? It's so amazing. This is the first time I've seen Naban be so terrifying. Everyone was shocked. At the same time, many people are even more murderous. Now that such a genius has taken action, he must not stay. The vast attack came down with a crash. But Duguyuking's figure was like a dream. He seemed to be grounded in reality, and also seemed to have entered the void of Tao Jingdi. The 5 Qi turned into style, preventing him from falling into nothingness. The first stage of the realm of riding the wind, the Hinayana without falling. As soon as he thought of it, Feng Suyufeng rushed towards the endless sea of power. The second stage of riding the wind, being able to fly in the middle. His speed was getting faster and faster, and after images appeared around him, as if they were about to escape from this world. The third stage of the realm of riding the wind, Mahayana, is like soaring clouds and riding mist. Duguyuking approached the endless sea of attacks, and then the sword skills all over his body exploded, and the gorgeous sword light suddenly exploded like fireworks in the dark night. Boom! At this moment, Duguyuking shocked the sky with his sword, and the forbidden aura was stirred to boiling point by his sword. This is the first sword he has struck in the forbidden way, the first sword struck by Dugu in the forbidden way. At this moment, the ocean of power created by Yuanwuji and other 3 heroes, as well as the elite masters of various sects, was directly torn into pieces by this sword. At this moment, those strong men who took action, the Dao scenery behind them disappeared one after another and staggered back. Even the 3 heroes couldn't help but fall to the ground at this moment. Their faces were pale, their energy was a little disordered, and their faces were filled with incredible looks. He is only in the Mahayana stage of Changfeng realm, he hasn't even evolved into Fueyo yet. Unexpectedly, he defeated me. The sword light suddenly startled the cold magpie. Could it be that he is the sword light in the prophecy? At this moment, everyone struggled to speak, with shock in their eyes. Duguyuking, on the other hand, stood calmly in the air. He held an ancient bronze lamp in his hand, raised it, and then said, "Today, light the lantern." However, he just finished speaking. "The lamp cannot be burned, and you must be killed." A cold voice suddenly sounded, and a black path suddenly emerged from the sky. Good night. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1074. A dark place of unknown origin. The secret power is flowing, cause and effect are boiling, and in the darkness, there seems to be an eye looking at the heavens from the darkness, as if looking for something. Still haven't found him. Are you sure he has entered the sword formation you set up? In the darkness, a voice sounded uncertainly. On the dark throne, a deep voice said. Yes. He has seen my swordsmanship. The voice in the darkness said. Is it broken? The voice from the dark throne said. Not yet. A voice in the darkness whispered. I hope to see the results soon. If he is really weak and is killed by your sword formation, that would be the best. If he breaks your sword, I can find a place to hide first. The voice on the throne said. Is it necessary to think about hiding all day long? If you don't try, how will you know if you can kill him as well? The voice in the darkness said coldly. Try. If he can break your way, do you have the courage to try? The dark throne said. No. The voice in the darkness said. So, it is best that he is really just nascent soul, and it is best that he dies under your sword formation, otherwise, it will be quite difficult for hundreds of millions of years. The beings on the dark throne were speechless for a moment, and then said. What are you going to do over there on Mars? Even if I trap him temporarily, the black smoke alone may not be able to suppress Mars, right? The smoke that guarded reincarnation before was destroyed. If a spark really catches fire, you won't have anywhere to hide. The voice in the darkness said. Mars has appeared, and sword light has appeared in the Hank Mountains. Don't worry, if your sword formation can stop him, the sparks won't be able to ignite. Kaiwanzo, Hank Mountains. In a land of mist. Dark stones piled up around it. The true form of the sword is carved on every black stone. After Li Fan entered this pile of black stones, he seemed very leisurely. He strolled around and looked at these black stones with interest. The texture of the stone is good, it can barely be considered a qualified carving stone. He patted a stone casually and nodded in praise. This sentence is so casual, but if other people heard it, their jaws would probably drop. Because of these stones, even if we hollow out the entire forbidden world, it would be difficult to find even one. It can be called an avenue stone, capable of carrying avenues that neither heaven nor earth can carry. But in Li Fan's eyes, it was just a barely qualified carved stone. The 1UN sculpting method, the Shideo sculpting method, the Tei sculpting method, well, they are all relatively advanced carving techniques. It is rare to be able to gather them in one place. Li Fan looked at these sword-dancing humanoid reliefs one by one and praised them. Even he had to admit that the sculptor had already mastered the art of carving, and had definitely realized the true meaning of the art. Various carving techniques were at his fingertips, and they were all embodied in simple human-shaped reliefs. Simplicity contained the true meaning of complexity. His skills have been perfected and his techniques are flawless. In fact, it was this that attracted Li Fan. Otherwise, Li Fan would not have stopped to take a look at ordinary carvings. Full harmony is perfection. Li Fan opened his mouth and said. This is the ultimate path that people want, but unfortunately, when one path reaches the extreme, there is no other way. The ultimate is the ultimate existence. After the extreme existence, you will see nothingness. Well, we are destined to meet each other, so we might as well use the art of carving to meet friends from a distance. He whispered, thought for a moment, then stretched out his hand, and a chisel suddenly appeared in his hand. This chisel was taken out of the system. He had also learned the art of carving. In order to break through the limits of human desire, he broke many fine stones. Immediately, he took the chisel and started to make adjustments to these carvings. He chiseled very carefully, because the texture of these black stones was really not very good. If he was not careful, he might be shattered. The first stone carving shows a sword pointing north. The body shape of the stone carving is perfect, the lines are smooth and impeccable. Li Fan ignored it and looked at the second stone carving. The second stone carving is equally flawless and the craftsmanship is perfect. However, Li Fan directly chiseled away the long sword he was holding in this perfect stone carving. Then, he chiseled away the third stone carving in the same way, this time chiseling away more, including the hand holding the sword. This is just the beginning. Li Fan was indifferent and casual, and did not stay on each stone carving for too long. And at this moment, in the valley, Dugu Yuking defeated many masters with one sword and prepared to light the lamp. A black path suddenly appeared from the void and extended directly towards Dugu Yuking. At this moment, between heaven and earth, everyone suddenly felt a trembling and instinctive fear originating from their souls. The black path, this is the black path. Xuanhuan was shocked, subconsciously stepped back and said, "How could something like this happen?" As if he had seen a ghost, Ge Rengxian turned pale with fright and fell to the ground, horrified and said, "The darkness is coming, the darkness is coming." Xuanhuan's face suddenly broke out in cold sweat, and he said, "Black mist, there is clearly no black mist in the prophecy given by Lei Ting." The sword light suddenly startled the cold magpies, and the Emperor's star was hidden in the divine mist. This was what Lei Qing, the servant of Thunder Emperor City, told them. They came to pursue the Emperor's star. As a result, they did not see the so-called divine mist, but black mist emerged. Even though the black mist has not appeared for countless years, the fear of the black mist has long been rooted in the souls of all creatures in the forbidden world. Once upon a time, even the most dazzling Xuantian Emperor was destroyed. The Xuantian Emperor, who was known as the Eternal Invincible, died in the darkness. Darkness, black fog, make the taboo world change its color. Could this be the reason why Lei Ting did not interfere in this matter? Xuanhuan suddenly understood why Lei Ting could ignore it when it was about the fire of origin and the Emperor's star. It's not that I don't care, maybe, I don't dare to care. So what if it was the Imperial Court, the once endlessly splendid War Heaven Emperor Court collapsed before the darkness, and the Thunder Court could only shrink. We are cannon fodder, we are the cannon fodder. At this moment, his face was pale and he understood completely. The three major forces recruit geniuses from all over the world and use small and medium-sized sects as cannon fodder, but in the eyes of Lei Dao Emperor, they are nothing more than cannon fodder. Now, I saw the black path appear with my own eyes. They had all foreseen their fate. Only, eternal death. Everyone is desperate. But in the sky, Dugu Yuking watched the black path coming, but it was calm. Instead, he smiled slightly and said, "I've been waiting for you for a long time." Not only was he not afraid, but he took the initiative to step forward and said softly, "Before I light the lamp today, I will once again wipe out a black smoke in this world." As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand, and his Tao scenery appeared in full. The path of the rules of swordsmanship and the connected land of nothingness were instantly enveloped in the Valley of Origin. In the valley, those stone piers that have been stored for thousands of years, at this moment, seem to have entered Dugu Yuking's Taoist scenery, and resonate with Dugu Yuking's path of swordsmanship. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1075. The Taoist landscape enveloped the valley, and endless sword intent erupted. At this moment, Dugu Yuking stood on his own regular road, like a sword master. There are 17 stone piers in the valley. At this moment, on the 17 stone piers, in the human-shaped carvings, the power of swordsmanship rose up, vast and endless, soaring into the sky. Dugu Yuking seemed to have turned into a sword light, controlling the endless sword intent and slashing towards the black path. The remaining strength dares to take action. On the black path, an indifferent voice sounded, and suddenly, a big black hand pointed towards Dugu Yuking. Wherever that finger reaches, the rules of heaven and earth are annihilated, and the source of the great avenue cannot bear it. Dugu Yuking's sword light collided with the Black Hand's finger and exploded. Boom! At this moment, some kind of terrifying shockwave spread out, and the entire Hank mountain range was trembling. Endless forbidden beasts were crawling on the ground, as if the end of the world had arrived. In the valley, Xuanhuan, Yuanwuji, and others were already trembling and fell softly to the ground. If Dugu Yuking's Taoist scenery had not enveloped the valley and carried the force of the impact, then they might have directly shocked to death. At this moment, even though they had their eyes open, they could not clearly see the blow just now. That blow had exceeded the limit of what they could spy on. Finally, after a long time, the aftermath of the impact dissipated, and everyone saw the scene in the sky. I saw that the path of swordsmanship under Dugu Yuking's feet was motionless, but he himself was already pale and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. And the black path shook for a while, as if it was frightened by the sword's intention. It took a long time before it calmed down again. I underestimated you. If you grow up, maybe I really have to retreat, but it's a pity that your power in this life is too weak, no matter how strong the sword was in the past. So what? If you are an ant without wind, so what if you master the supreme swordsmanship? In this life, you cannot exert the power of the past at all. How long can the power that remains in the years last you? You can only perish. The black path approaches again, and the big hand of darkness covers the sky and falls suddenly. Dugu Yuking sighed softly. You're right, eternal time, there really isn't much power left here. So, I originally wanted you to live a little longer, now, I have to send you on your way earlier. After saying that, there was suddenly a pen in his hand. That's Huangtian brush. There are 3 such pens in the world, Xiling's Phoenix Feather Brush, Dugu Yuking's Huangtian Brush, and Lin Zhujian's Fire God Brush. The 3 pens, all came from the small courtyard and were made by Li Fan himself from chicken feathers. This pen appeared, and suddenly, there seemed to be some kind of real fire beating in the dark sky, driving away the cold and blocking the darkness. This is the feather of a phoenix. On the black path, a surprised voice came, saying, Phoenix is dead, but there are still relics in the world. But, it doesn't matter anymore. Even if the phoenix reappears, so what? The big black hand dropped suddenly, as if to suppress everything in the world. Dugu Yuking said softly. What can Phoenix do? Use the pen of the Phoenix to gather the remaining sword energy from the previous life. What about adding these 5 words? He picked up his pen and raised his eyes, as if he wanted to look through the sky. All the energy in his body burst out, the Taoist scene roared, and his path of rules trembled faintly. His state had reached its peak, and an illusory flame emerged from his heart. That flame is where his life lies. Once upon a time, he died in the darkness and was illuminated by the ancient light of the tribe of ancestors. He was reincarnated for eternity and was picked up by Li Fan. At this moment, he forced out the fire of life and was going to die in the last battle of this life. Have you ever known that 1 is the beginning of all things, 2 gives birth to 2, 2 gives birth to 3, and 3 gives birth to all things? 1 is the one who moves forward indomitably. He shouted loudly, and with all his strength, the Huangtian pen suddenly made a stroke from the air. This stroke seemed to disturb the sky, tearing the heavens apart, destroying the space, transcending cause and effect, and the vast sword in tension hung upside down like a waterfall from the sky. Boom! The big black hand was shattered directly, and the terrifying sword power was suppressed directly on the black path. No. What kind of swordsmanship is this? The existence on the black path was immediately startled, and the path collapsed. Seeing this scene, everyone in the audience was extremely shocked. No. This swordsmanship has clearly surpassed the stone carvings in the Origin Valley. In Lin Yuhao's Dao scenery, the rotten sword immortal was extremely shocked and said, Kendo that transcends the origin of Kendo, what kind of Kendo is this? Her whole body was trembling, and her rotten eyes were filled with excitement. She is a practitioner of swordsmanship and has a profound understanding of swordsmanship, so she knows very clearly what the scene in front of her means. This can definitely be called the myth of Kendo. This is a sword that transcends the origin of Kendo. At the same time, she was also extremely surprised. Duguyuking was the last person among the ancestors to master the sword. How could he have reached such a profound state? Could it be that Duguyuking, who can be said to be the origin of swordsmanship, has some unimaginable great opportunity in this life? Others in the valley, such as Xuanhuan and others, were even more dumbfounded, because they didn't even see how the sword was formed, they only saw the collapse of the black path. What kind of swordsmanship is this, actually broke the black path? How can it be? 1. What kind of swordsmanship is this? Why can't I look at it? Everyone is exclaiming. It's not just the Hank Mountains. At this moment, the entire Kaiwan continent felt it. What a terrifying sword intent, coming from the Hank Mountains. The light of the sword scares the cold magpies at first sight, and jumps at the great gods. He is indeed a prophet. Is the Emperor's star about to appear? The world is paying attention. In Thunder Emperor City, there was a blue arc of terror at this moment, which evolved from the sky above Thunder Emperor City and turned into a giant eye. It was mysterious and unpredictable, and seemed to be paying attention to something. In Thunder Emperor City, Thunder servants Lei Ching and others bowed down excitedly when they saw the blue secret eye. Because that blue secret eye is the symbol of the Thunder Road Emperor Court, symbolizing the Supreme One in the Thunder Road. Hank Mountains. Everyone in the Origin Valley was shocked. Is the Black Path destroyed like this? Someone whispered in disbelief. But, right now, you alone want to destroy me. The Black Path reappeared directly. Darkness is indestructible, the legend is true. Such a terrifying sword cannot destroy it. It's too scary. Is this why not even the Thunder Dao Emperor's court dares to come here? For a moment, everyone was a little desperate. How to fight this? No matter how strong your cultivation is, the Black Path will never die. Even the face of the rotten sword immortal in Lin Yuhao's Dao scenery showed a look of despair. The sword of the Kendo myth cannot be effective. The Kendo myth also dissipates, but the black mist never goes away. However, at this moment, Duguyuking's expression did not change and he said coldly. Killing you with one move, how boring. Let you live a few more times just because I want to finish writing the remaining words. After saying that, he picked up his pen and wrote the second word. The vast space became silent again, and all the rules were eliminated. As soon as this word came out, the sword energy shook the sky, and every stroke was like a divine sword that shook the sky. The flame in Duguyuking's heart suddenly became brighter. Sword. The word is done. Boom. As soon as the black path reappeared, it was already covered by the meaning of the sword, completely crushed and collapsed. This was an all-round suppression. The end of the black path was cut out directly, and at the source of the path, there was actually a black smoke, rising and falling like a human figure. However, when the sword energy came out at this moment, the black smoke was directly chopped away and disappeared. Duguyuking didn't care at all. The pen in his hand at this moment was like a magic sword that was moving rapidly. The tip of the pen was like the tip of a sword, and he was writing the third word. The third word, the strokes are like mountains, meaning the way of sword, as if it has surpassed the power of billions of June and suppressed everything in the world. Press. This is the third word. Can you kill me? The black smoke reappeared from the space, but as soon as it emerged, it saw the third word and was immediately suppressed. This word directly killed He Yan hundreds of times. The fourth character of Duguyuking has also taken shape. Sky. As soon as this word came out, all the darkness caused by the appearance of the black path disappeared, the black and yellow energy surged between the heaven and the earth, thousands of miles of sword light bloomed, and tens of thousands of heavenly waterfalls evolved. Ah! The black smoke has nowhere to hide in this world, and it has been extinguished countless times. So what if you kill me 100 million times? I will eventually return, and you will eventually wither. The black smoke roared, and the words were filled with hatred. However, Duguyuking just whispered. Is it? It doesn't need to be 100 million times, the last time, I promise, this is the last time. As he finished speaking, blood suddenly appeared on his hand, flowing down the tip of the pen. He uses blood as ink to write the last word. The bright red blood was filled by the pen tip, and under the pen tip, countless white mists suddenly appeared. That is the origin of the white mist. What? There is actually something like this in your blood. At this moment, the black smoke trembled, completely trembled. Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1076. It comes from the source of darkness and knows very well what can destroy itself. Even if you are wiped out by the Emperor of Heaven, even if you are suppressed by the great Dao, you have nothing to fear, because the Emperor of Heaven will live to the end of his life, the great Dao will collapse, but the black mist will never disappear. But white mist. This kind of thing, to black mist, is extremely poisonous and fatal, and can fundamentally destroy black mist. Of course, the destruction of the black mist also means the destruction of the white mist. This destruction is mutual. It never imagined that the last bodies of those people would actually be accompanied by the origin of the white mist. What the hell, you didn't take it out earlier if you had such a thing. At this moment, the black smoke's mentality collapsed. He had just been killed tens of thousands of times. As a result, the other party was just teasing themselves. It feels a deep humiliation. As a black smoke, even if he is the great emperor in this world, who dares to look sideways? But today, I'll fight you. The black smoke roared angrily. At this moment, facing the threat of destruction, it used all its strength and grabbed it with its big hand, and 11 rot slaves suddenly appeared. Why is there one missing? Heiyan was confused for a moment, but he had no time to think about it. The 11 rot slaves, with a thought, killed Duguyuking. At the same time, it turned into a black mad dragon, roaring towards Duguyuking and swallowing him. Give it your all. But Duguyuking just held the pen and slowly wrote the last word. That's a. The word south. The last word, done. At this moment, the 5 characters he wrote before and after appeared in the sky at the same time. One sword conquers the whole world. The 5 characters, based on the origin of the white mist, exuded a terrifying and vast sword intent. The moment they appeared, the 11 rushing slaves were instantly killed by the sword light. The shrouds shattered and the rotten flesh flew everywhere. Completely dead. I don't want to die. Even the black dragon with a terrifying aura and exerting all its strength felt a great fear at this moment and let out a shrill cry. The power contained in the sword that pressed down on Tianese was already falling. Boom. The black smoke was directly extinguished by the terrifying aura. This time, it was completely destroyed. The black smoke disappeared, but patches of thick grey fog were born in the sky at the scene. There seemed to be countless strange spirits in the thick grey fog. However, the sword intent of a sword that pressed down on Tianese had not disappeared. The grey fog was dormant and did not dare to move at all. There was silence in the valley for a moment. Everyone looked at the scene with deathly silence and shock. What kind of swordsmanship is this? The ancestors of the ancestors, is this the terror of the ancestors of the ancestors? Extremely stunning, invincible. Is this the origin of the Grey Mist Road? In Grey Mist Continent, the strong men who follow the Grey Mist Road are said to be immortal, so it turns out that they originate from darkness. At this moment, in the valley, Xuanhuan and others could not help but worship the 5 words on the sky. Myth, a complete myth. In Lin Yuhao's Taoist scene, the rotten female sword fairy also knelt down, and tears actually fell from her rotten eyes. She was so excited. Moreover, this myth of swordsmanship is also supported by the origin of white mist. The myth of swordsmanship can defeat the black mist, but it cannot completely destroy it. With the origin of the white mist, there is hope. At this moment, it's not just the Hank Mountains. Everyone in the world feels it. What happened in the Hank Mountains? I seem to feel the ultimate in swordsmanship. The light of the sword scares the cold magpies. You are a great master and you will not deceive me. Quickly, go to the Hank Mountains and see what's going on. The world is paying close attention. At the same time, among many superpowers, the black mist between heaven and earth is missing again. In Lei Emperor City, a certain secret voice came out. In an instant, Lei Emperor City was shocked. What? The legendary 9 black smoke swirling around the forbidden world is missing another one. How is it possible? Who can erase the black smoke? This is already the 2nd streak of black smoke that has been wiped out. What big thing happened in the world? Everyone was shocked. In the Thunder Emperor's palace, Lei Qing, the servant of thunder, was even more excited. Because, just now, an order came out from the Thunder Road Pure Land and the Imperial Court. The black mist has disappeared. Lei Ting should prepare to take action. In the valley, in the deathly silence, everyone couldn't help but kneel on the ground. Facing the 5 big characters on the vast sky, they instinctively worshipped with awe from their souls. Dugu Yuking fell to the ground. His face was pale, his energy was confused, his lips were chapped, and his eyes were bloodshot, as if his life had reached the limit of overdraft. And in his heart, a red gold flame was beating, as if it had materialized. The power of the flame was dormant in it, and it seemed that it was about to explode in an instant. It's a pity, even if I try my best, I still can't perfectly write the master's level back then. He smiled slightly and said, "It's a pity that I don't have any wine. If I finish drinking, will my writing be better?" There was suddenly some regret in his eyes, and he said, "Sorghum wine, peach fruit wine, millet wine, wheat wine, I really want to drink it again. There is no need to get drunk anymore, and master no longer has to worry about dragging me." As he was talking, he suddenly smiled and said, "If you can follow master and live a mortal life in this life, what regrets do you have?" He turned around and said clearly to Fan Yao Yao and Fan Pai, "Come here." Fan Yao Yao and Fan Peiming were extremely excited at this moment and stepped forward to him. "Old ancestor." Fan Peiming spoke with some anxiety. Just now, their bloodline roared, they saw the scenes in the years, and witnessed the origin of the sword's roar. They are the blood of the ancestors, and Dugu Yuking should be their ancestor, a strong man who once pounced on the darkness. Dugu Yuking handed the ancient bronze lamp in his hand to them and said, "You are the last bloodline of my tribe, this lamp can only be given to you. After I light it, you take it away." As he spoke, he smiled, and said, "Send it to a small mountain village, maybe that small mountain village will come to you. When the time comes, remember to tell my master, one sword can suppress the sky, I finally wrote it." After saying that, he turned around, stood up, and said freely, "Gentlemen, look at the fireworks tonight." As soon as he finished speaking, the red flame in his heart began to burn his blood. His life was about to completely reappear in this time, igniting the ancient bronze fire. However, right now, boom! The endless grey mist formed by Dugu Yuking's destruction of the black mist suddenly became chaotic and turned into black mist again. Dugu Yuking was about to turn into fire. If he felt something, he raised his eyes and frowned suddenly. The black mist formed by the vast grey mist turned into a flower of black mist, which seemed to be connected to some kind of secret and terrifying space. Endless red energy poured into it, forming a hidden eye. The black hidden eye slowly opened. At this moment, it seems that some unparalleled evil and eternal terror are about to emerge, and all the ways in the world are dim. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1077. The grey mist turned black and turned into a strange black flower. In the black flower, a secret eye was about to open in an instant. With the appearance of this secret eye, all the creatures in the entire Xuanhuan mountain range felt a great fear at this moment. It was as if death was coming. What's this? The end of life, I seem to feel the end of life. Is that the flower of death? Many people were whispering and murmuring. In the mountains, a giant black python was trembling, and a giant black ape buried its head under the roots of the tree. Even the forbidden beasts were afraid of it. It's not just the Xuanhuan Mountains. The entire Xuanhuan continent felt it. What happened in the Xuanhuan Mountains? No. With this kind of aura, could it be that a dark disaster is coming? Everything in heaven and earth will be destroyed, and no one can take it. The world trembled. In the sky above Thunder Emperor City, the blue arc secret eye suddenly disappeared. The flower of darkness blooms, is a disaster coming? The door that had been opened from the pure land of Thunder Road was suddenly closed at this moment. Lightning disappears. The Xuanhuan Mountains originate from the valley. Duguyuking looked at the strange black flower and was instantly shocked. The eyes of the source, how dare he appear? He whispered and said. Miss Yongzi said that Yuan's eyes are also afraid of the master and will never dare to appear in front of the master. As long as Li Fan doesn't show up, Yuan's eyes will always be wary. Now, this eye has actually appeared. Could it be said that the source is already sure that the master will not be able to take action this time? He didn't know, but now that the eye of source has appeared, then, the only option is to fight to the death. One sword suppresses the whole world. Duguyuking roared, raised the Huangtian pen again, and wrote the 5 characters just now. The 5 big characters reappeared, and the sword intent soared to the sky, but the source's eyes only opened a little. In an instant, the vast black chi machine overwhelmed the world. The 5 characters written by Duguyuking actually became sad. The 5 big characters were suppressed by the black energy. At this moment, Duguyuking's hands were trembling. He clearly felt that his whole body was locked by that eye, and he was unable to make any movement. Even though the Huangtian brush is in hand, it cannot be wielded. Even though he mastered the supreme swordsmanship, it was difficult to take action. He was extremely awake, but completely suppressed. This feeling is the first time in my life. But the power of the secret eye did not kill him directly. A black mist reappeared in the black monster flower. I'm back. This is the black smoke just now? It was destroyed by Duguyuking and turned into grey mist, which was already extinct. However, now the black eye has reversed the grey mist and turned it into black mist again, so it reappeared. This lamp, no one can light it, no one can take it away. This black smoke turned into a human form and headed directly towards the big hands of Fan Yaoyao and Fan Peiming. It wants to snatch that ancient bronze lamp. But, right now. Boom. A terrifying black sword light suddenly erupted from Lin Yuhao's body on the other side. Cut it directly on this big hand. A big explosion occurred, the big hand was chopped off, and the sword was swaying in all directions. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. 13, you dare to attack me. The black smoke was frightened and angry. But Lin Yuhao was dumbfounded at this moment, and his Dao scenery appeared on its own. In the Dao scenery, a rotten sword immortal came with a sword. The shroud covering the sword fairy's body has torn apart. Her body is rotten and her bones are dense, but she still has an indomitable momentum. No. The power of the shroud has failed. How did you do it? Black Smoke was shocked. 13 had turned into a rot slave, but now he has regained his sanity. We have fought darkness in life, and we must fight darkness in death. The rotten sword fairy was whispering. She looked at the secret eye in the sky and said, I wish to die forever, I wish not to enter reincarnation, I wish to burn out my remaining soul and thoughts, and use all the cause and effect related to me in the world as firewood, but if I ask for this sword, it can open the sky. Her voice was hysterical, her body was trembling, rotten flesh kept falling, bones were broken, and corpses were flowing everywhere. She exhausted all her strength, and then struck out with a crazy sword. She wanted to use the sword to give Duguyuking a glimmer of hope. But the black monster flower and the terrifying secret eye didn't even look at her. Just that Black Smoke turned into a black dragnet and suppressed the sword. Even though the rotten sword immortal tried his best, but nothing could be changed. 13 tried his best. There was a gentle lament, as if whispering, and then, the shroud completely fell off the rotting body, and the rotting flesh turned into dust and flew away in the wind, leaving only a skeleton, which fell to the ground. Even her black rusty sword had broken into pieces and fell into pieces on the ground. At this moment, there was deathly silence between heaven and earth. Duguyuking has been completely suppressed. The sword is very strong, but not strong enough. In the black monster flower, the secret eye stared at the 5 words for a long time. There seemed to be a whisper, and a chi appeared. The 5 words one sword presses the south written by Duguyuking disappeared into thin air. Then, black mist surged towards Duguyuking, and one of the huge shrouds seemed to wrap up Duguyuking. At the same time, the resurrected Black Smoke also appeared in front of Fan Yao Yao and Fan Peiming again. And at this moment, Hank Mountains, in the land of mist. In an area filled with black stones, Li Fan only had the last black stone left. All the stones have been chiseled by him. Some stone carvings only have one hand left, some only one leg. The further back they go, the more the stone carvings are chiseled away, and some even only have 1 or 2 monotonous lines left. Stones are nothing at all. When there are stone carvings, they come from nothing. When the stone carvings are perfect and harmonious, they are the state of greatness. Only when you see nothingness in the great existence can you cling to the incomplete and deficient, and overcome the existing with nothing. After saying that, he picked up the chisel and directly chiseled away all the pictures on the last stone carving. The stone carvings are photographed in a row. Looking forward from the last piece, it is starting from nothing, and the lines gradually increase until they are complete. But looking back from the first piece, it goes from existence to nothing, with lines gradually decreasing until they disappear. Piece by piece, no matter whether it is increasing or decreasing, you can still see the traces of the evolution of the carving method. The increase and decrease are done in one go, without any stagnation, and it is natural. From nothing to something, from something to nothing, something is better than nothing, but nothing can also beat something. Li Fan put away the chisel and said lightly. The reason why he took action was simply because the sculptor had entered the path of greatness. But it is extremely difficult to see the true meaning of nothingness from everything. If I use a vulgar metaphor to describe it, it is the emperor and the beggar. From a beggar to a 95-year-old man, he has power, honor, wealth, possessing everything in the world, from nothing to something. But once they become emperor, how many people can see the restrictions and constraints that you places on people? It is almost impossible to see through the big space. As the saying goes, the eyes are enchanted by flowers, and the eyes are full of beautiful flowers and endless scenery. Who can see his own impending decline from the glory? The same is true for the way of carving. Mastering endless techniques and methods can be called perfection, but the greatness of those techniques and methods is also a kind of constraint, and it is one's own destiny. From nothing to something, you still need to come from something to nothing, without any worries. Even if you have mastered thousands of ways, you can still deal with them with an ordinary human heart, starting from the ordinary and ending with the ordinary. Even in the world of mortals, one can transcend. In this way, everything in the world is convenient for me and I am helpless. All kinds of ways return to the world. Exactly so. However, Li Fan was not sure how meaningful it was to change these stone carvings and leave them here. Even if the original sculptors of the stone carvings saw his own stone carvings, he would not be able to understand them. Because in Li Fan's view, experience determines cognition. He has been staying in a small mountain village and living an ordinary and simple life all his life. He has long been accustomed to ordinariness, so he can be so indifferent. But what about everyone else? He might be a cultivator, or he might be a world-famous sculptor. Who would be like a mortal like me? Only those who have experienced the world of mortals and have been stuck in the ordinary can perhaps understand Li Fan's state of mind. And if the carver didn't have the same state of mind as Li Fan, he would definitely not have the same experience. He would even feel that Li Fan didn't even know how to carve, and could only chisel randomly. Just like a beggar who suddenly went to tell the emperor that everything he had was shackles and restraints, and it would be better to have nothing. Obviously he will be beaten. He got up and walked out of this place. It's time to go find the disciples. What he didn't know was that it was right after he left. This space suddenly seemed to be connected to the other world. In the other world, there seems to be endless darkness. In the darkness, there seems to be a very high throne, and a pair of dark eyes scans these darkest stones. At the scene, the stone carvings on the darkest stones seem to have come to life, performing some kind of swordsmanship from nothing to something, from something to nothing. Bang! Bang bang bang! The dark stones in place collapsed and shattered. The darkest stone, which can carry all the ways in the world and is known as the stone of immortality, actually knows that it is as if it cannot bear this kind of cause and effect. And that's right now. In the Valley of Origin. The shroud had already covered Duguyuking's body. The resurrected black smoke had already taken the ancient bronze lamp from the hands of Fan Yao Yao and Fan Peiming. Suddenly. Buzz. In this Valley of Origin, the supreme stone carvings on the stone piers scattered around seem to come alive. The sword is evolving, the true meaning is flowing, and those stone pillars are exploding one by one. Boom! Waves of sword intent spread out from these stone piers. There was no earth-shattering edge, no vast waves, no power that could make the great Dao of heaven and earth retreat. Ordinary like water, hidden like a still stream. Wrong. However, above the sky, among the strange flowers, the black secret eye was suddenly startled. Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1078. The stone piers in the Origin Valley are evolving at this moment, completely different from those before. The kendo that had evolved before was so powerful that it reached the ultimate point of kendo, which can be called infinite. But the way of swordsmanship that has evolved now is as light as a wisp of wind, as ethereal as a cloud, as quiet as a handful of stream water, and as silent as a grain of dust. In fact, Xuanhuan, Yuanwuji, and others in the field did not feel any fear at all. The evolution of this Tao is as calm as water. However, the black monster flower on the sky suddenly shocked her. What kind of swordsmanship is this? I've watched the heavens for eternity and it has never appeared before. Facing this kind of swordsmanship, it actually feels incomprehensible. The appearance of the sword intent suddenly caused all the sword cultivators in the field to roar with inexplicable sword skills. My sword intention evolves independently, towards perfection? How is this possible? A master from the Tianjian sect couldn't help but speak. The sword intention at this moment actually made my sword intention resonate with it, as if it was about to explode. I feel invincible, as if I have seen the true path of Kendo. For a time, all sword practitioners felt blessed and felt something in their hearts. A master like Xuanhuan was even more excited and speechless. His sword intention was derived from the Dao scenery, almost turning into a swing, turning into endless light. This is like a vision from heaven. Unparalleled opportunity. In fact, not only those who are strong in swordsmanship, but also other cultivators, their own Tao is also moving accordingly at this moment, and some kind of wonderful evolution has taken place. As the saying goes, all methods lead to the same goal through different paths at this moment. The ultimate evolution of the sword is drawing the resonance of all avenues. Big gains for everyone. At the same time, Duguyuking, who was almost wrapped in the shroud, suddenly felt something. All the thoughts in his heart completely disappeared. At this moment, he seemed to see the master appearing in front of him, like a royal pen. He subconsciously raised his pen and wrote 5 words again. One is not one who is moving forward in an indomitable way, but one who is full of spring and nature. The sword is not a sword that shows off its edge, but a sword that hides its sharp edge. Press is not the pressure that suppresses eternity, it is the softness of morning dew pressing on fragrant grass. The sky is not the sky where the sky is shining, but the sky where all kinds of things are free. South is not the south where the north and south are completely dark, it is the randomness of the south wind blowing in the face. At this moment, his heart was extremely free, and without realizing it, he made a free and easy move, and the 4 big characters reappeared. One sword conquers the whole world. However, this time, the sword pressing down on Tianese was no longer shocking the sky, nor was it shaking the whole world. It is a kind of kindness and tenderness behind the extreme strength, the twists and turns after standing tall, and the blooming of thousands of pear trees in the severe cold. This is an extreme transformation. I can conquer the world with one sword, and I have the domineering power to sweep through all eternity. I have the belief that I am invincible, and the determination to be invincible, but at this moment, it has transformed into the best good is like water, and the upper road is invisible. Like a divine sword turning into a rose. As soon as the sword came out, at this moment, the sword intention in the stone pillars in the valley was completely transformed into these 5 words of his. The sword intent brought out by the 5 words swept up, rising against the trend, like a river, directly sweeping up the black monster flower in the sky. What kind of way is this? In the monster flower, tens of thousands of dark energy suddenly erupted, as if it was going to crush the sky, cut off cause and effect, and destroy the whole world. But when they submerged into the river of sword intent, they all disappeared. This kind of sword intent can actually suppress even the secret power of darkness. Immediately afterwards, the river of sword intent directly submerged the flower of darkness and the mysterious eye. No. A cry of surprise came from the flower of darkness, and then, a flower actually disappeared. The mysterious eyes of the monster tried their best to open, but they were also drowned. It's like a flower that is suddenly swallowed up by a black hole and disappears from this world. It didn't turn into gray mist, and didn't even have a chance to reappear. It just disappeared without knowing where it was going. At this moment, there is an incomparable silence between heaven and earth. How can this be? In the valley, the black smoke that was cut into grey mist by Duguyuking and then reappeared by the strange flower of darkness made a horrifying sound. What did it see? The flowers blooming at the source, the eyes of the source, were actually suppressed by some force in this world. And, so thorough. This is the first time in eternity. Even that person didn't make it this far. Just when it was shocked, not far away, in front of Fan Yao Yao and others, the skeleton of the rotten sword immortal suddenly stood up, picked up the broken hilt, and slashed out towards the black smoke. The broken sword pieces of the rotten sword immortal, and even her lifelong obsession with swordsmanship, were now activated by the sword intention. She has practiced the true form of kendo in the Valley of Origin, so when the realm of the true form of kendo is changed, her realm of kendo and her obsession with kendo also change. The sword transformed at this moment is only half the power of the true form, but there is also an extreme transformation gestating in it, and it strikes with the sword. You dare! The black smoke roared, and it tried its best to block it, but it found that the sword's intention transcended time and space, and could not stop it at all, directly drowning it. In an instant, this sword spirit also wiped out the black smoke. The black smoke goes out. In the valley, the sunlight from the sky shines down again. This last thrilling battle was silent, not disturbing any plants or trees, and not causing the surrounding cultivators or creatures to feel anything. However, the powerful enemy was defeated. Even the black smoke that made the world's emperors fearful was completely wiped out. At this moment, everyone in the valley was in a daze. What level of swordsmanship is this? It actually caused the black mist at the source to be completely destroyed. This simply breaks the iron law that the black mist is indestructible. How did you do it? Xuanhuan and others were shocked to the extreme. What I saw today was absolutely a miracle. If word spreads, I'm afraid no one in the taboo world will believe it. But it actually happened before their eyes. No. What about my swordsmanship, the swordsmanship I just realized? That true meaning of swordsmanship is actually about to fade away. At this time, a swordsman master spoke in surprise. In an instant, everyone else felt the same way. The traces of my Tao's recent evolution are going to disappear? How is that possible? No, remember it with my heart. I want to grasp that feeling, that true meaning of Tao, which can completely transcend this world for me. It can't disappear, it can't. Everyone is anxious. With the evolution of swordsmanship just now, their own Tao has also been pulled and mysterious changes have taken place, as if it has pointed out a road for them, but now, that Tao is disappearing, coming and going without leaving a trace. They were all trying desperately to copy everything they had just seen. However, just as this idea came to mind, everyone suddenly vomited blood. Puff. An old man, instead of grasping the meaning of Tao just now, seemed to be crazy. He stood up, danced and said, "Ha ha, I have entered the Tao. The Tao is mine, I got it." As he spoke, he ran like a madman and ran out of the valley. He is just the beginning. Enter the Tao, enter the Tao, enter the Tao. Ha ha, Master, I have entered the Tao. This Tao is so comfortable, Master, let's fly together. The Tao can be taught, the Tao can be truly taught, the Tao is in front of the horizon, the flowers are withering, the flowers are flying all over the sky, ha ha ha. Everyone in the audience, everyone is crazy. Even Xuanhuan, Lin Yuhao and others went crazy and ran out like crazy. Ah, what's going on? Fan Yao was confused. Why are they all crazy? Fan Peiming was also very confused. But next to them, the white skeleton formed by the rotten sword immortal said, "The swordsmanship just now is a myth among swordsmanship myths, it should not exist in this world, nor should it exist in the eternity of time. There is no trace of coming and going. They are trying to force them to stay, just to bring trouble to themselves, so they are all crazy." As she spoke, the hilt of the sword in her hand fell to the ground, and her bones were slowly shattered. The true meaning of kendo is also fading away from her obsession with kendo. She couldn't keep him either. Although you two are young, you have really extraordinary minds. The rotten sword immortal was obsessed with swordsmanship and spoke approvingly to Fan Yao and Fan Peiming, saying, "Having seen that kind of supreme true meaning, you can still forget it naturally. With this kind of mind, you will definitely succeed in cultivating the Tao." Fan Yaoyao and Fan Peiming were the only ones in the field who didn't go crazy. Therefore, the Rotten Sword Immortals obsession naturally believed that Fan Yaoyao and Fan Peiming didn't force any trace of Taoism. Hearing this, Fan Yaoyao spoke weakly and said, "No. No, I haven't forgotten, that slight change in true meaning seems to be still in my Dao Jingdi. Such a terrifying thing, I won't go crazy." Fear was written all over her face. Fan Peiming also broke into a cold sweat and said, "But, why haven't I forgotten? It seems that some of the changes in my true meaning just now still remain in my Taoist scenery, you can watch them." Hearing this, the Rotten Sword Immortal's obsession with swordsmanship was startled for a moment, but when she looked at Fan Yaoyao and the two of them, she suddenly understood and became extremely envious. "The blood of the ancestors, and I walked with that person before, what a great blessing, what a great blessing." She admired enviously, and after saying that, the skeleton was completely shattered and turned into ashes. The Rotten Sword Immortal is completely dead. Fan Yaoyao and Fan Peiming were very confused. What the hell is going on? Walk with the one. Could it be, she's talking about Fan Li? Fan Yaoyao suddenly thought of a possibility, and her little heart suddenly jumped. Fan Peiming also suddenly changed his expression. Could it be that Fan Li has such a big background? This is a background bigger than the sky. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1079. Fan Yaoyao and Fan Peiming were both thinking of Fan Li at this moment. "Sister, tell me, could it be?" Fan Peiming couldn't believe it and said, "Fan Li. Is he so powerful?" Fan Yaoyao said, "Brother, I suggest you, from now on, remember that Fan Li is very weak, really very weak. Don't say he is strong in front of him. After all, the boss's only hobby is acting. I didn't expect his strength to be so terrifying. The more terrifying the strength, the less likely it is to offend. You must serve the boss well. Even if his acting skills are terrible, you must continue to act with him." Therefore, she was really worried. As a silly brother, she must not be smart enough to expose the boss and make him angry, that would be the end of it. Fan Peiming was also startled for a moment. What does my sister mean? Forget it, it seems that you are right to listen to your sister anyway." On the other side, Zhuge Yuqing was also deep in thought. The ultimate way of swordsmanship can be said to be fearless and invincible. However, after being fearless and invincible, he murmured, "From nothing to something, we still need to start from something to nothing. Great freedom comes from being fearless, great freedom comes from being invincible." At this moment, his sword heart seemed to have undergone some significant changes. In his Dao scenery, the traces of the evolution of the true meaning of the sword just now are still there and have not disappeared at all. At the same time, he was also thinking about the true meaning of the sword just now. I am afraid that in this world, only one person can evolve. Master. Could it be that he finally took action? This may be the only answer. Has Master seen me? Zhuge Yuqing suddenly smiled. He should have been under the gaze of the Master, right? Before I die, I can still get guidance from my Master. I didn't expect that my Master's swordsmanship is still far beyond what I have seen. He sighed with emotion, and then whispered, "Master, the disciple will turn into flames, even if it only illuminates a darkness." He took the lamp from Fan Yaoyao and others' hands and said, "I will light the lamp." After speaking, he took the ancient bronze lamp and walked to the altar in front. At this moment, the gaze in the darkness had been interrupted, and he could light the lamp with confidence. In his heart, the red gold flame rekindled. His life is about to burn. But, right now, a voice suddenly sounded. Yuqing. When this voice came, Zhuge Yuqing was suddenly startled. He turned his head subconsciously and saw a young man appearing at the mouth of the valley. It's Li Fan. Teacher, master. Zhuge Yuking's face was suddenly filled with an incredible look. Why is master here? Shouldn't he be in a small mountain village? Can't he show up? Master. He was very excited, walked towards Li Fan, bowed deeply and said. Disciple pays homage to master. Next to them, Fan Yao Yao and Fan Peiming were about to say hello to Li Fan. When they saw this scene, they were immediately dumbfounded. What, he is actually, the ancestor's master. Fan Peiming was stunned. Zhuge Yuking was the ancestor of their ancestors, but he actually called Fan Li master. Fan Li. Who is he? Fan Yao Yao's big eyes were filled with shock, and her little mouth opened into an O shape. Ancestor's master, is he so powerful? Oh my god, we actually walked with our ancestor's master all the way. No wonder he would protect us. Fan Yao Yao's heart suddenly became extremely excited. At this moment, Li Fan looked at Zhuge Yuking in front of him with a hint of emotion in his eyes. Finally found it? He walked all the way from the misty land, and he was still doubting on the way, would his disciple really appear in such a wilderness? Unexpectedly, it was actually there. No need to be polite, just get up. Li Fan immediately spoke and said. Where are the others? Why are you the only one? Hearing this, Zhuge Yuking raised his head and said with some anxiety. Master Qi, we all dispersed and went to look for the ancient lanterns. Looking for antique lamps? Li Fan was confused. After going out, they actually dispersed. Why were they looking for Lao Shi's ancient lantern? He saw the ancient bronze lamp in Zhuge Yuking's hand at a glance and said. You found this? Let me take a look. He was a little unhappy in his heart, but he suppressed his temper and wanted to see what happened. Zhuge Yuking quickly handed the ancient bronze lamp to Li Fan. Li Fan took the ancient lantern and glanced at it carefully. He understood immediately. This ancient bronze lamp is indeed an old object and has a lot of history. It can definitely be regarded as a national treasure level antique, priceless. Moreover, when he just arrived here, he saw the ruins here, like some kind of ruins. Li Fan suddenly understood in his heart. This group of disciples are probably out looking for antiques and treasures. He suddenly remembered that before a group of disciples left, Yun 11 had said to let them go out and explore. Maybe, my group of disciples had a premeditated plan. Is it worth risking your life just for something like this? He couldn't help but shook his head and spoke. Hearing this, Zhuge Yuking said with determination in his eyes. Master, disciple knows that you must be angry in your heart. When you are angry, we leave without saying goodbye. But, we have been under your protection for so long, we can't always let you protect us. As long as I can relieve you of a little pressure, it's worth it. A spark can start a prairie fire, burn yourself, and ignite the lamp that once illuminated the darkness, so that master will not be lost in the darkness. Moreover, by then the darkness will be illuminated, and the source will have the possibility to calm down. This was the method that Li Fan once brought back from the source, but in the end, he went on the road alone, unwilling to choose. So in this life, they must take the initiative to share the pressure for Li Fan, and are not willing to let Li Fan carry it alone again. Hearing this, even though Li Fan was still a little angry in his heart, he couldn't help but be slightly moved. These disciples have grown up after all. The original intention was to share the pressure of life with themselves. This group of silly disciples, although raising more than a dozen people is indeed stressful, at least no one is hungry or cold, and they can have dinners and eat meat from time to time. Why bother? Master knows your thoughts. Li Fan spoke slowly and said. But my teacher said that I can protect you, I don't need your share of the burden. After saying that, he suddenly threw the ancient bronze lamp in his hand towards the distant mountains and forests. Seeing this, Duguyuking looked shocked and said in shock, "Master! Well, that is the basis of a spark that can start a prairie fire. Without that light, all the big plans would be out of the question. But now Li Fan actually lost it?" Moreover, the moment the lamp was thrown, Duguyuking clearly felt that he could not see its trace clearly, and this time he couldn't find it even if he tried to look for it. Li Fan looked indifferent and said calmly, "So what if that thing is precious? I don't need it as a teacher, not even in this life." In fact, of course he can see that the ancient bronze lamp has profound cultural heritage and is completely preserved. It is definitely a priceless antique. If you take it out, it can indeed be sold for a sky-high price, and it can indeed make everyone in the small courtyard live a better life. A life of wealth and glory. It can also reduce the pressure on Li Fan to support his family. As Duguyuking said, it can help Li Fan share a lot of pressure in life. But, in Li Fan's opinion, it's not worth it. What about priceless antiques? What about a life of glory and wealth? In his opinion, it is not as important as his own group of disciples. Even if you live in poverty, even if you only have a meager meal in a small mountain village, and your life seems a bit poor, it is enough for your family to be happy together. That's why he wanted to throw away this antique. Only in this way can Duguyuking and the others be completely cut off from their thoughts, lest they do stupid things again in the future. Otherwise, if I indulge them in finding treasures this time, they will do similar things again in the future. You can survive once, but what about 2 or 3 times? Human desires are unlimited. Once the disciples get a taste of getting rich by relying on antiques, will they still be willing to live an ordinary rural life? Impossible. It is easy to go from frugality to luxury, but it is difficult to go from luxury to frugality. Li Fan is not against his disciples making money, but Li Fan will never accept this dangerous way of making money. And Duguyuking was immediately shocked when he heard Li Fan's words. At this moment, there was inexplicable warmth in his eyes. Good night. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1080. Duguyuking looked at Li Fan. For a moment, he had mixed feelings in his heart. There was warmth in his eyes. Because he has completely understood what the master meant. In this life, master is still unwilling to follow the path of a spark that will start a prairie fire, and is unwilling to let them sacrifice themselves. I would rather stand alone in front of everyone. Master, you treat us so well. He spoke, trying to hold back the sobs in his words. Li Fan said, "Let's go, follow me back to the village." Now that he finally knew what his disciples were doing, Li Fan was half relieved. After all, my group of disciples had quite a lot of adventures outside. They had often gone hunting before, so it shouldn't be that dangerous. Duguyuking nodded and said, "Disciple, obey." At this moment, he didn't force it anymore. Because Li Fan had lost all the ancient bronze lamps, and their insistence on starting a prairie fire with a single spark was actually meaningless. No choice. We can only follow master, even if the night falls, we can carry it together. Li Fan nodded, then looked at Fan Peiming and Fan Yaoyao and said, "You two, I have found my disciple. This place is too dangerous and I am ready to leave. Do you want to leave together?" After hearing this, Fan Peiming suddenly looked complicated. My sister is absolutely right. This guy really loves acting. Is this place too dangerous? He simply wanted to say, for you, is there still a word called danger in this world? You can even get rid of things like black smoke. This is absolutely the highest level in the world. Fan Yao Yao said. Okay, let's go together. Immediately, they left together. And at this moment, in the Hank Mountains, in a certain mountain forest, a middle-aged man wrapped in a black shroud was running away like crazy. This person is clearly Ao Xuanhuan. Damn, it's too dangerous, it's simply too dangerous. While running, Ao Xuanhuan spoke. His face was full of fear. He followed other rot slaves to the origin valley, but saw Tugu Yuking. If others don't recognize that guy, doesn't he know him? That is a small mountain village from an evil sect. So, I broke into a cold sweat at that time. Later, Heiyan actually took the initiative to attack Tugu Yuking. He didn't wait any longer, turned around and ran away. In his opinion, although black smoke is also very evil, the small mountain village casts a greater shadow on him. He had just escaped not far away, and the earth-shattering movement in the origin valley behind him further confirmed his prediction. Sure enough, wherever there is a small mountain village, it is definitely not peaceful. Damn it, I've already crossed the line, and yet I can still be entangled in this small mountain village, I'm really convinced. His face was full of unwillingness, and he gritted his teeth and said, I don't believe it. I still can't get rid of this evil little mountain village. He made up his mind to run away from today, far away, never wanting to have any contact with the small mountain village again. Well, first of all, we can't encounter small mountain villages, and secondly, we can't encounter things like black smoke anymore. Both of these are very evil, especially in small mountain villages. However, while he was running, suddenly, he felt like he had been kicked by something. He couldn't help but look down and saw a bronze lamp rolled to the side. Ao Xuanhuan was stunned when he saw this thing. This lamp, isn't this lamp in Tugu Yuking's hands? How would it appear here? He looked around hurriedly, fearing that there were people from the small mountain village around. However, it was quiet. Could it be that the small mountain village and the darkness had their brains knocked out, so they shot this thing away? A possibility suddenly occurred to him. If that's really the case, that, developed. This is definitely a good thing, it can make small mountain villages and darkness fight for it. He picked up the ancient bronze lamp while no one was around. But, that was the moment I got hold of this ancient lamp. Boom. Ao Xuanhuan's mind suddenly went blank, and his Taoist scenery appeared involuntarily. In his Taoist landscape, in the center of 9 huge statues, a small black 9-story tower rises and falls. At this moment, the small black tower suddenly began to tremble violently, and the first floor opened involuntarily. In the iron tower, the chains rang, as if something was struggling violently. Terrifying black light poured out crazily from the gate of the first floor tower, as if wrapped in something, and instantly poured into the ancient bronze lamp in Ao Wu's hands. At this moment, the black secret pattern on the ancient bronze lamp in Ao Wu's hands suddenly emitted a faint black light, and the seal on the lamp slowly disappeared. If Tugu Yuking were here, he would definitely be shocked. Because he had observed before that there were dark lines carved on this lamp, and there was some kind of terrifying power dormant, but it was sealed by someone. Now, the seal has been opened. The ancient bronze lamp, which had run out of oil and burned out its wick, suddenly ignited a strange dark fire. The fire of darkness is invisible and qualityless, but under the shining of black light, the black origin and mist suddenly gush out crazily. Then, this black origin and mist all entered Ao Xuanhuan's Taoist scenery. His Taoist scenery seemed to have turned into a dark place. The 9 statues all have secret power flowing at this moment, and the endless black energy gathers between the 9 statues, and then pours into the small black tower. The small tower seemed to be no more than the height of a hand, but now it actually swallowed up the black energy of the entire Dao Jingdi. Boom! The black tower on the 3rd floor was suddenly deified. Then, in the black tower, Black energy surged out again, but the black energy at this moment was completely different from before, as if it had been smelted. Black mist filled Xuanhuan's Taoist scenery again. At the same time, his path of rule stretched to the extreme. Driven by this dark energy, he kept moving forward, surpassing the shadow of death and Dongzhen, directly reaching the Forbidden Land, and reaching the land of nothingness. The Taoist landscape is connected to the terrifying land of nothingness. Once a cultivator steps into the land of nothingness, he will be swallowed up in an instant, and even his life will not be left behind. And the land of nothingness is the foundation for the cultivation of the taboo. The foundation of the taboo way is the land of nothingness. The cultivator needs to use various heaven-defying means to turn the land of nothingness into a real world and realize the process of creating something from nothing. It is said that the founders who are revered as emperors in this world created the real world, and their imperial courts stand in the world and pure land they created. At this moment, Xuanhuan's land of nothingness ushered in the first taboo energy. Dark energy. He has also officially entered the forbidden level. To reach the forbidden realm, one needs to attract the 5 qi in the land of nothingness. But at this stage, the cultivator's own consciousness and soul still cannot set foot in the land of nothingness, otherwise he will still perish and fall into the infinity. You must wait until the 5 qi gather and turn into a wind. That wind can lift and carry the soul and thoughts of the cultivator, so that even if the cultivator enters nothingness, he cannot fall into the void. This is riding the wind. For ordinary cultivators, it is already good if they can enter the land of nothingness with a breath as thick as a little finger at the level of Najin. But at this moment, Xuanhuan contained a vast ocean of dark energy. As the dark energy entered Xuanhuan's land of nothingness, his Dao scenery slowly disappeared. Xuanhuan, whose mind was blank, finally woke up. Huh? Why is this lamp so damn lit? Looking at the ancient lamp in his hand, Xuanhuan was immediately confused. What the hell is this? Moreover, there is still a black fire? Is it evil? No, why did I upgrade? The little black tower, the third level of deification is completed. At the same time, he felt his own strength and the abnormality of the small black tower in the Daijing land. He hurriedly entered the Taoist landscape and walked to the small black tower. Why does it feel like something is wrong? Xuanhuan whispered, and he subconsciously opened the first floor of the small black tower. I saw that the first floor was completely empty. The man who was previously locked in the first floor of the tower. Gone. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1081. Now. The entire Kaiwan continent caused huge waves. Everything in the Hank Mountains has attracted the attention and shock of the world. What happened in the Hank Mountains? I'm afraid that the fluctuations are constantly spreading. The sword light suddenly scares the cold magpie, the Emperor star is hidden in the divine mist. Have all the predictions of Jumping God come true? What did the previous crisis of world destruction come from? Did darkness come? The world is talking about it and paying attention. And at this moment, Thunder Emperor City. Thunder Emperor City is the only place to enter the pure land of Thunder Path, and is regarded as the palace of Thunder Emperor in the world. Lay servant Lei Qing and others respectfully guarded outside a gate. The gate was entirely made of stone, and the stone gate was engraved with the secret pattern of the Supreme Thunder Path. It seemed that as long as you were disrespectful, you would attract the terrifying power of thunder and destroy everything. This gate is the Gate of Thunder. It is the only door to the pure land of Thunder Path and the imperial court of Thunder Path. At this moment, the world behind the Thunder Road Gate. This is a pure land full of thunder. The land stretches, there are wind and thunder between the sky and the earth, blue thunder clouds float in the sky, and above the clouds, there is a vast imperial court. In the pure land, there are countless cultivators, forming a world of its own. Among the geniuses from the outside world, only those with the talent for thunder have the opportunity to enter this world, and then the people of the Thunder Emperor thrive here. The imperial court naturally rules the entire Thunder Path Pure Land. And at this moment, above the 10,000 layers of thunder sky, at an endless height, a blue Thunder Dao Emperor's throne stands here. Looking down from this throne, you can see the 10,000 layers Emperor's heavenly palace below. On the Lei Dao Emperor's throne, an existence that cannot be looked at directly is murmuring at this moment. Darkness is coming, is disaster coming? Even the gaze of the source manifests. This existence seems to be thinking about something. A disaster is coming, and we must choose a path. The road to gray mist contains the origin of black mist, so when darkness falls, you may be able to survive, but unfortunately, no one can walk except the Grey Emperor himself. The origin of white mist no longer exists in this world. Grey mist fog can no longer be produced. The road to creation was the method of the two ancient emperors of the Sun and Taiyan. They walked on this road, but disappeared inexplicably. In this life, the Sun Emperor and the Moon Emperor inherited it, but even if a top-secret world is created, can it really be possible? Can you escape the darkness? It seems that only the path of parasitism has a glimmer of hope. This being was hesitating and making a difficult choice. After thinking for a long time, he seemed undecided and murmured. If Emperor Xuanhuan is still here, what kind of path will he create? However, as soon as this question was asked, this existence already denied it. He won't create any roads, the road of parasitism, the road of creation, the road of grey fog, it's all just to survive, and he has always been the main war faction, he only takes the path of war the road. There was silence for a long, long time. The black secret eye has appeared, and the prophecy of the one who jumps to the great God is gradually coming true. The reincarnation reappears and the black smoke disappears, 12 sparks fall into the sky. The sword light suddenly scares the cold magpies, and the Emperor's star is hidden in the black mist. The Thunder Path has no way out, the Emperor's court collapsed, and he still looks for Kunpeng in Yuzhu. Haha, Thunder Path, the roadless Emperor's court collapses, my Thunder Road, is it going to collapse? There seemed to be a huge unwillingness and anger hidden in the words of this being, and he whispered. I don't believe it, I really have no way out. The Thunder Path will never be destroyed, the Imperial Court will not collapse, your prophecy will end on its own. The path of parasitism, rooting one's own way in the Tao scenery of the world, can at least have more hope of survival. The being on the imperial throne whispered slowly, and then, with a wave of his hand, an imperial order spread throughout the entire Thunder Path Pure Land. He finally made a decision. Black smoke appeared and flowers from the source of darkness bloomed in Xuanhuan, which forced him to make a choice. The path of parasitism. In an instant, the entire Pure Land of Thunder Road and the 10,000 heavenly palaces all heard the Thunder Emperor's decree. Prepare to hold a Thunder Dao event, and invite Yuzhu to participate. As soon as the decree came out, the entire Pure Land of Thunder Road immediately moved. The Thunder Road Festival is generally held only once every 10 years. It is mainly used to attract the outside world's Thunder Path geniuses. If there are talented and powerful people, they can enter the Thunder Path Pure Land through the Thunder Path event. But this year is not the day for the Thunder Road Festival. Moreover, Yuzhu is invited to participate. Yuzhu, adjacent to Xuanhuan, is the territory of another Taoist. Water Emperor. After years of hesitation, the Emperor finally has a choice, the Earth Emperor, the Water Emperor, the Gold Emperor. These three ancient emperors are the founders of the path of parasitism. In a certain heavenly palace, an old man whispered. The history of the Forbidden World begins with the era of raising fire. In the Age of Fire, the ancestors created a forbidden world and thrived in this world. The fire of civilization began to originate from that time. In the Age of Fire, because the ancestors of the 12 ancestors fought into the darkness and perished, The ancestors ended with their bodies illuminated by fire. After the fire-raising age, there were the Tei age and the Five Elements age. The two most powerful ancient emperors of the Tei era, Taiyang and Taiyan, are said to have seen great terror from the deaths of the 12 ancestors, and wanted to imitate the miracles of the ancestors and build a pure land that darkness could not touch. The fuel of sustainable civilization. After the lunar sun, there are the 5 elements, the 5 great emperors of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, who have attained enlightenment one after another. At the end of the 5 elements era, the Emperor Xuanhuan rose up and started the heavenly emperor calendar. The supreme Xuanhuan emperor court was established. The eternally invincible Xuanhuan emperor gathered the strongest men in the world to attack the source of darkness. Even the two ancient emperors, Fire Emperor and Wood Emperor in the 5 elements era, joined forces with him. However, Emperor Xuanhuan, Emperor Fire, and Emperor Wood also failed. But the heavenly emperor calendar still continued. Even though in later generations, great emperors such as the Grey Emperor, the Thunder Emperor, the Sun Emperor, and the Moon Emperor successively attained enlightenment, no one could reach the point of starting an era on their own. Since the death of the Emperor of Heaven, no one in the world has spoken about the source of the war, and the voice of the main war has completely disappeared. How to survive is the path that people in the world are looking for. The Grey Emperor's path of grey mist, the path of creation led by the Moon Emperor and Sun Emperor, the parasitic path of the Earth Emperor and others. The Thunder Emperor had never made a choice before. Now, inviting Yuzhu to Kaiwanzhou is enough to explain everything. Soon, in the Pure Land of Thunder Road, there were already masters leading people out of the Pure Land and towards the outside world. Thunder Emperor City. The door to the Thunder Path opens. Lei Qing and other Thunder servants greeted the people who came out of the Pure Land of Thunder Path with great respect. This time, what came out of the Pure Land of Thunder Road was not 1 or 2 people, but a team. Seeing this, Lei Qing and others were shocked. Generally speaking, even if a Thunder Path grand event is held, at most a few Thunder envoys will appear. Even if outside talents need to be absorbed, they will not attract the attention of the Thunder Path Pure Land. Nowadays, so many people show up. Something big must have happened. Are you Lei Qing? Among this group of people, a middle-aged man spoke calmly. His eyes had a faint azure color. Lei Qing said respectfully. The villain is. The middle-aged man said. My name is Lei Dongyun. 2 things. First, let the world know that the Lei Dao festival will begin. The second thing is, lead the way to the Hank Mountains. Lei Dongyun is acting resolutely. He has a mission. That is, looking for seeds suitable for the path of parasitism. The so-called parasitism method is that the founder of the Tao incorporates his own Tao into some genius Tao landscapes. If the dark catastrophe comes, as long as those geniuses do not die, they can be reborn from the genius Tao landscapes. Therefore, from this perspective, the seeds we are looking for in the path of parasitism have nothing to do with qualifications, talents, etc. It's about people who are born with the aura of darkness, or who have been exposed to darkness but survived. This kind of person has the highest probability of surviving when darkness comes. He is the best seed to take the path of parasitism. Therefore, opening the Lei Dao Grand Conference allows all the geniuses of Kaiwan continent to participate, and they Lei Ting can select from them. In addition, black mist has appeared in the Hank Mountains. If anyone can walk out of it alive, it will naturally be the seeds they are looking for, so he must hurry up and get there. Hearing this, Lei Qing immediately said. Yes, old servant, go and do it now. Kevin got stuck and hit his head against the wall. A small calorie for 2 days and a large calorie for 3 days. Sleep.